Minister, I want to raise the issue of city and county childcare committees with you. As you are no doubt aware, August 2019, an agreement between SIP2 and the City and County Childcare Boards of Management for the regrading of city and county childcare managers was reached. The agreement was concluded after extensive negotiations in which it was conceded that the existing pay scale for local authority grade 6 does not reflect the role, responsibilities or competencies of the CECC managers, which have dramatically changed since city and county childcares were established in 2006. Can the Minister outline if provision was made in Budget 2021 for the implementation of the August 2019 agreement?
Thank you, Deputy Minister.
Very much, Deputy. Officials in my department, they're reviewing the Workplace Relations Commission considerations of the pay rates of the managers of the City and County Childcare Committees. The City and County Childcare Committees, the CCCs as we generally refer to them, they're one of the key support mechanisms that my department has. And I want to acknowledge the very important role that they play in providing support and guidance to early learning and care and school-aged childcare providers and to parents. Basically, these act as my department's local agents in every county. And I recently met with Childcare Committees Ireland, and I got a detailed explanation from them of the wide range of services they provide, both to service providers and to parents as well. And it's everything from information to further education to advice, but most importantly they have the local knowledge that's incredibly beneficial to my department. So when issues are cropping up in a particular area, whether it's shortage of places, they can feed that back to my own department. In 2005 the Minister for Finance sanctioned the rates payable to CCC managers as comparable to the rates applicable to local authorities for grade 6, and officials from my department have been engaging with representatives from the CCCs, including both managers and boards of management representatives and their union representatives in relation to a proposal for a review of the grading of CCC managers. So look, I don't have a firm timeline for completion of this work yet, but I'm happy to keep yourself, Deputy, indeed any other deputies updated on that, the progress of that review and any conclusions from it as we go along.
Thank you, Minister. Deputy O'Sullivan.
Provide a timeline, but that's okay. I'll take you at your word that you'll continue to engage with us. But I thank you for your response, Minister. The only subsequent question I'd ask you maybe on it is, you've mentioned that there's been numerous meetings with boards of management and the unions. Have you yourself met them, or do you intend on meeting them in the next few days, months, weeks ahead, whatever it might be? Or could you give them a commitment that you might meet them in the near future?
Minister.
I've met directly with SIP2 once, and I've met with SIP2 reps in the context of wider engagements with the childcare sector on a number of occasions, and I've also met directly with IC2 once. This specific issue didn't come up in those contexts. I'm happy to address it if it does come up. I know there is a need for increased trade union representation within the childcare professional sector. I want to see more workers represented by a trade union, because I think that will help us achieve those various goals as regards the achievement of higher wages in this sector. So look, I'm absolutely happy to engage with SIP2 on this particular issue if I'm requested.
Deputy O'Sullivan.
Yeah, just to thank the Minister for agreeing to that. Look, I appreciate that response, and I suppose I'm just conscious that we're talking about, I think, 36 managers nationwide, so it's a relatively small number. But I suppose I just take the opportunity, obviously, to acknowledge as well that many people that work in this sector are amongst the lowest paid employees in the state. And the Minister is probably fully aware, obviously, that there's a fierce problem with trying to retain those staff, and there's a high turnover as well. So I just take the opportunity as well, maybe just raise with the Minister that we need to look at conditions and pay for the workers as well in that industry. And I would just urge the Minister as well to perhaps review that. Thank you.
Thanks, Deputy. And look, I suppose as regards to the specific situation of the managers, there is a process in train there. I'm happy to update the Deputy on that and engage with that process. I think on the wider issue then as regards pay across the sector, look, we've discussed it extensively already today in questions, and a number of deputies have raised it. We have the funding model work being undertaken at the moment to look at how we can target funding towards goals like reducing like reducing out-of-pocket costs for parents, but also ensuring that childcare professionals are adequately paid to represent both the very significant education that has gone into their particular role, but the really intense nature of the job as well. We also have the workforce planning work being undertaken at the moment to ensure that we can create those long-term career patterns for them. And I've already spoken about, as regards conditions, the issue to do with sick pay and my engagement of the Oireachtas Department to ensure that childcare professionals are included in any national scheme of sick pay that's currently being examined by the government.
Question 32 is from Deputy Bernard Durkin.
Seeks to ascertain the extent to which the Minister and his department have been able to focus on the welfare and well-being of children in the course of the pandemic.
Minister.
And thanks very much. And I might just focus, I suppose, on elements that TUSLA has undertaken as the Child and Family Agency, and maybe to set out the work that they've done. So during the first 4 weeks following the restrictions, we saw a significant drop in the number of referrals to TUSLA by 36%. And at that point, TUSLA rolled out a significant information campaign across social media and traditional media as well, reminding the public that TUSLA's child protection services were open and encouraging referrals of children at risk. And over the last 6 months, the average number of weekly referrals has increased and is now only 12% lower than the average rate prior to the pandemic. TUSLA is a really effective national childcare information system, and this allows social workers very quickly adapt to remote working, and social workers continue to monitor referrals and information on child protection notification system to identify those children who were most needed close monitoring and to ensure they were visited directly by a social worker even during the restrictions. And the data on that system also indicated to local managers where they should take direct steps in response to the drop-off in referrals. TUSLA set up a dedicated crisis management team to lead the organisation's response to COVID-19 and to ensure continuity of critical services. And these meetings were attended by officials from my own department to ensure there was ongoing communication between ourselves and TUSLA. TUSLA prioritised contact between children in care and their family members in a range of innovative ways. TUSLA developed clear guidelines for social workers in undertaking public health risk assessments before doing home visits, and there was additional funding that I've already discussed about in the area of domestic and gender-based violence. And my department developed emergency regulations to allow for the assessment of foster carers in keeping with public health restrictions. And to ensure that the public was fully informed, my department launched the Supporting Children information and media campaign in June, and this asked everyone to be mindful of vulnerable parents during the challenging time. And there is also significant information available on the government website gov.ie.
Deputy Durkin.